Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, the number one source for news, analysis, and discussion on the Detroit Red Wings, the NHL, and all things hockey. Here are your hosts, Ryan Hanna, Brad Crisco, and Evan Lopsinger.
Over the past year, as Emmitt Finnie has developed, I have been very impressed with him, but pretty adamant that he's probably going to be a good bottom six forward for the Red Wings. Is it too early to admit I was wrong?
I think you just have to wait until the Art Ross Trophy is officially awarded, and then you can safely pencil in that as
then he's a definite top sixer full time at that point.
Yeah, Brad was wrong. Emmitt Finnie, Hart nominee,
top six forward.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, when you spend the entire training camp bolted to the first line, it seems inevitable.
Well, no, he did have to kick Elmer Soderblom off that line, and
then proceeded to score twice.
This is how you know we're back. First off, full roster. Evan's eyes are dead, and is that because he had a 4 diaper change yesterday, or because this is the crack of dawn? And we are back to 2 episodes a week, although this is a delayed episode because usually this is Sunday, although because of flight cancellations, I couldn't get back in time. But still, making proclamations based off of the least significant portion of hockey that you are going to see all year. Yeah, we're absolutely so back. Red Wings hockey is back. I saw a funny comment when there's like a notable post about like a scoring chance. They're like, oh man, scoring chance from a bottom 6 Red Wings forward. That's how you know Red Wings hockey is back, baby.
No, that actually feels like an outlier.
Anyways, this happens every time I'm not here and then you guys record without me. I don't know why I come back. The show is better with you two. You do not. It's not even like, oh, these guys do a good job steering while I'm gone. You don't need me. What am I here for? I should have stayed in Italy.
Someone else has to deal with the anxiety. We were so worried we were going to lose everything at the end of the episode.
Yes, that's how I feel every episode.
Exactly. It's better you suffer than us.
I also don't want you staying in Italy, so we had to have you back.
I'll tell you, my bank account didn't either.
Yes.
I was joking before we hit record here. I was like, yes, you have a flight cancellation and then you stay there a day longer than you wanted to, and the travel home becomes a 48-hour ordeal. And then I thought, what would Brad Crisco think of me complaining about being in Venice a day longer than I had planned? It's okay. I'm not the master whiner is not going to whine about this one. It's okay. But appreciate
you survived.
Too. Yeah.
You made it.
They'll have to build a statue of me over there. They have a ton of statues. What's one more? The martyr Ryan Hanna, who survived 1 flight cancellation.
While in Italy.
Yeah. Anyhow, thanks for not just holding the fort, making things better while I was gone. Folks, welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, here to talk to you about all things Detroit Red Wings hockey, training camp, the upcoming preseason games, the world of the NHL, and lots more. I'm one of your hosts, returning Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
On this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we're going to be covering the training camp that just happened, takeaways from lines, players, notable standouts from established players to young hopefuls, and then what's upcoming in the preseason, what to look out for. The Centennial Jersey came out between last episode and now, so we'll be covering that, and then whatever other NHL news we get into before overtime. Before all that, 2 things. Winged Wheel Podcast night at the LCA is Saturday, November 15th against the Buffalo Sabres. Go to wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings or go to the link in the description of this episode to get your tickets. Once they are gone, they're gone. You get access to not only the pre-game live recording of the Winged Wheel Podcast featuring Ken Daniels at the LCA. Your ticket is also a discounted game ticket that comes with a Centennial season inspired design Red Wings Winged Wheel Podcast co-branded throw blanket with the Centennial logo and our 10th anniversary logo. It's got the red and cream colors on it. It's awesome. It's a great design, and it's a cool piece of merch that we were excited to do to switch things up a little bit. Every ticket bought is also a donation to the Jamie Daniels Foundation as well. So again, go to wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings to get your tickets today. Also, Winged Wheel Podcast night with the Grand Rapids Griffins is returning at Van Andel Arena Saturday, January 17th, 2026. go to griffinshockey.com/WWP to get your tickets. Again, pre-game live recording of the podcast featuring special guests from the Griffins and more. You also get a Winged Wheel Podcast Grand Rapids Griffins co-branded puck, specially designed and signed by a mystery Grand Rapids Griffins players. So it's going to be any one of a random amount of Griffins players. We have some other fun twists in there for you as well. So again, go to griffinshockey.com/WWP. Same thing. Every ticket represents a donation to the Jamie Daniels Foundation and gets you access to the co-branded merch, the live recording, and the game itself. Let's jump right into it. Training camp has wrapped up. Yesterday was the red and white game. Thank you to everyone who helped me keep track of things and record what I needed to see. So I watched that late night, but I know you guys have been following along. Evan has found.
I've never tweeted so much in my life.
Oh my God.
You can thank hospitals in general because there is nothing else to do in there.
And your baby is very much in its potato phase.
Very much.
Well, except for the diapers. But yeah, the notifications were coming in while I was on the plane. I was like, oh my God.
Someone hacked my phone.
There it is. It's gone. He responded to one of those Elon Tribe DM requests and gave away his crypto accounts or something like that.
Yes.
But I mean, you were all over it, Evan. What did you see? Let's start with the red and white game. We'll move backwards from there. But yesterday was a notable one for a few reasons.
Yeah, it was. I think first and foremost, I was thrilled for the Grand Rapids fans, the people who are the diehard Griffins fans who got to have essentially a Red Wings game in Grand Rapids. They sold that place out probably instantly.
Oh yeah.
I think if Van Andel had 20,000 seats, it would have been sold out. It just looked like an amazing atmosphere, and I'm so happy that they got that experience. But in terms of the game, I thought it was really good. There were some standouts for me, and I'm sure we'll go through it goal by goal, but a couple of rookies really sort of took the reins and made their presence known. We alluded to Emmitt Finnie being on the first line. That was carried over from training camp, and he did not look out of place on that line at all. Lombardi had a great game, some great assists, some good defensive plays to turn the puck over and create opportunities. Seider was fighting JT Compher. He was laying guys out, bringing the physicality, sort of setting the tone, sending a message that, this is what the Red Wings of the future are going to look like. I think there was a lot to be excited of coming out of that game.
I think the preamble for all of training camp and in a different way for preseason is don't draw too many firm conclusions from it. I'm not saying anything bad doesn't count and everything good does count, but you're just kind of looking for the trends, any big differences, notable changes, things that stand out beyond the qualifiers of guys are rusty or they're not taking it, too hard because they don't want to injure their teammates kind of thing. And that last thing you noted, Evan, is something that really stood out for me for the entire stretch here, which is the intensity and the physicality. And Seider was the biggest driver of that. And it's funny that you say the biggest, because part of that, I think one of the things was he put Elmer Soderblom into the bench.
Yeah, he did in Traverse City in one of the scrimmages.
Which is hysterical. Seider is absolutely, looks like he's trying to step up the intensity. And it's not just him. Like McLellan has really emphasized in what he's said to media of like, he's pushing this with the guys. Like, you have to be game ready and you have to be able to step up that intensity and play with that fire. And so the fact that that's a focus it's really important because, I mean, you've heard the complaints over the last 10 years. Things just look flat far too often. And so that's obviously a priority to be addressed right off the hop this season.
Yeah, Seider trying to get Compher stuff per 60 up first inter-squad game is great sign. And, obviously you don't draw big, broad, sweeping conclusions from training camp, red and white game, preseason. That goes without saying. But my big, broad, sweeping conclusions from this game are that, you could see it on the Red Wings players. It's Seider especially. They're sick of the garbage from a lot of the teammates. And that's not that comes off as a much bigger negative than it's meant to sound like. But yeah, the lack of intensity, the lack of, physical play, to steal from another team the complete lack of Florida Panthers style hockey in the Red Wings game, in the Red Wings locker room. And a few guys are like, no, that's what it takes to win in this league. We're going to do it from day one. Get on board or get out. And McLellan's pushing it. Obviously, not everybody, but a few guys really, really took it to heart. You could see it. You know, McLellan's not screwing around, because even though it's early, even in his roster decisions, line decisions for something as small as the Red White game, he was not experimenting with much. The Kasper line, same as last year, which we'll talk about. They were excellent, by the way. The checking line that everybody's hypothesized of Rasmussen, Kopp, and Appleton started right away. Raymond and Larkin. That top line left wing spots up for grabs, and maybe one spot on the fourth line.
But McLellan was in the training camp was very complimentary of Emmitt Finnie, and he put him right in there.
Yes.
It wasn't like, yeah, Emmitt Finnie's having a great camp. Here's a veteran because I'm too afraid to try things out and experiment things. Like, hats off to McLellan to be, you know, he identified a guy who was having a good camp and rewarded him for it. So the lineup has been mostly locked, but I certainly appreciate the fact that he's willing to give guys a chance to see if they can hang. If Emmitt Finnie got into that lineup and played with that top line and couldn't hang, he would have been out of there immediately. Well, but I like that sort of attempt to see what guys have.
And that's probably been my biggest compliment of McLellan since he got here. It was when he got here that he elevated Kasper, and Kasper took off. It was him who gave Edvinsson his own pair and let him start running with it. It was him who then bumped Albert Johansson up to that pairing and essentially ran a second pair of two rookies. He does not shy away from the rookies, the inexperienced players, like a lot of veteran coaches would. You know, we've been through this rebuild long enough and been through enough tenures where we could have predicted in that red and white game that was going to be Kopp, Comfer. I know Van Riemsdyk wasn't playing, him or someone like that up on that wing with Larkin and Raymond. But no, it was Elmer Soderblom. Again, not a rookie, but relatively inexperienced compared to a lot of these other guys. And then it was Emmitt Finnie. Mm-hmm. And he is not afraid to just throw someone into the water and you sink or swim. And again, it's rewarding good play. When he was talking about Finnie, he was using the term gas and brakes a lot.
Yeah, riding the brakes is like, in terms of guys who are playing too tentative is what
he exactly used. You know, you come up to the NHL, you've never been here, you haven't been here for very long, and you kind of ride the brakes because you're so afraid of making a mistake. And then there's the guys who just hammer the gas pedal and whatever happens. And he said directly, Finnie's on the gas and he's rewarding that, which if you want to have a true organization full of accountability, intensity, all these things he's been preaching, you have to reward it. You have to call it out when you see it, because even the lowest level hockey player in the training camp for the Red Wings isn't an idiot. They're an elite level hockey player. Every one of them can see through BS. So if they see a guy over here who's 20, 21 years old, absolutely killing it, and then a 33-year-old who's coasting through his, 14th training camp, and he gets bumped up to the top line and the 20-year-old is sitting on the 5th, 6th line, that gets noticed not just by those two players, by everybody there. So now if you're a JT Compher, who as it stands now is probably buried on the 4th line, and you've got a 7th round pick who hasn't played an NHL game playing on the top line, it's not like an insult, but it's a message. Mm-hmm. It's saying, we don't think you can play there, but we think he might have a shot. What are you going to do about it? And then for the guy like Finnie, well, that guy's got to be on cloud 9 right now. Even if he doesn't stick with the Red Wings, even just getting this sample size going into the AHL season, he's going to be riding a high going, I played with Larkin and Raymond. It was only for a game or two, but I played with Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond. The AHL, I should be able to dominate this. And then they go into that next gear mentally.
Yeah.
Of, I can do this. They saw it in me. I'm going to keep doing it.
This is a slight departure from training camp, but I do want to call it out because everything you two just described, this was a concern of McLellan for those who paid attention to his time in LA. Like LA Kings fans were saying, oh, well, get ready for what he's going to do when you have a young guy who needs time kind of thing. Whether or not that was founded, he's not like that here. It shows that coaches learn and develop and understand the systems that they're in. Good coaches do, and that's what we've seen so far. Like that formula worked with Kasper, and you alluded to it, Brad. Kasper, DeBrincat, Kane was the most consistent, dominant, like steady line. Everything is basically revolving around keeping those three together, and that all starts with elevating Kasper, like you said. And now he's using that same formula again and again and again. And it's not always going to turn into Moarco Kasper centering the second line kind of thing. Like Emmitt Finnie's probably not going to be the first line left wing all 82 games for the Red Wings this season. He's still odds on not going to.
Don't forget the playoffs.
That's right. Yeah. It's all
where he wins the Conn Smythe.
Right. Which is a shoo-in after the Art Ross in the regular season.
Yes.
But still, like, there's benefits to this, and especially when you're talking about waking up a team that has kind of lost a lot of the life, and you want more Seiders than you do the Passengers. That's how you do it from the ground up. In addition, from the top down, which is what you get from the Seiders and the Larkins and those who are actually intense in practice and get the most out of their teammates. So, I mean, we said all off season. The full training camp, full preseason of Todd McLellan coming in and instilling not just the systems, the plays, the X's and O's, like F1, F2, who's going in, who's covering back kind of thing, but just the ethos of how this team plays. You're starting to see it here, and it is as critical as any other roster move that the Red Wings have made or will make, because that's where you need to make the change. This team is not playing to 100% of their potential on paper. And he could be unlocking more of that. It's too early to say he is, but he very well could be.
He can only do what he can do. And what we've seen so far is he is trying. Players may or may not buy in. Like, I'm not going to be cynical. I'm not going to call anybody out specifically, but looking at this roster, there are absolutely guys that I'm predicting are not going to buy in. And there are a lot of guys that I would write in pen are fully going to be bought in. Like, if you told me the first guy to step up and really embrace the intensity message from Todd McLellan was going to be Moritz Seider, yeah, I think that was extremely predictable. So it's just, the Red Wings for 10 years of this rebuild have been preaching culture. And truthfully, we've seen very little to really believe that they meant that. And I'm talking more in the room and around the coaching staff. Obviously, management can only do so much with that. They build a formula they think is going to work, but if everybody doesn't buy in, like we just talked about, it doesn't matter. But this feels different than any training camp we've had since we started this podcast. And it's training camp. Who cares? It might all mean nothing. But the vibes were different.
Yeah.
We've been through this enough times from the outside watching to kind of know what a Red Wings camp looks like. And this hasn't been typical. And at least if you're going to draw any teeny tiny conclusions from this, that's probably the biggest one you can take away, because again, guys are going to play good, guys are going to play bad. Somebody might make the team, somebody might not. That's happening in 31 other training camps right now. That's not interesting specifically with the Red Wings, but anything that feels different from previous versions of the Red Wings, I think is at least a little noteworthy.
Let's talk about Emmitt Finnie specifically, because people are going to be wondering, okay, he came out, he looked good, he played with a high motor, got to the dirty areas, finished a play, nice play from Lucas Raymond. Is he going to be a guy who can actually threaten this roster? The likely scenario here is still he's going to spend time in the AHL. But we've seen enough with the Red Wings to know fully that he can earn a spot here. Brad mentioned what Todd McLellan said about not riding the brakes, and he used Emmitt Finnie of an example of a guy who just presses on the gas and plays hard and plays his game and allows himself to make mistakes, because then they can coach him out of the mistakes kind of thing. He has every opportunity here to surprise. He's on the list of guys who could shock and make a roster. Now, it's tight this year. Like, there aren't a lot of spots, but Emmitt Finnie, if he doesn't make it, it's not a failure. He's already, I think, had a successful everything from the moment he was drafted as a 7th round pick, but a successful camp especially. It's not impossible. I think he has a shot, and he's certainly raised some eyebrows in a good way so far.
He's going to have to continue to raise eyebrows every single game that he's involved in and every single practice, because it's not a given that he's going to make this team, right? And I would say that for every prospect. But for the guys that we're starting to consider the possibility of making the Red Wings out of camp, he's one of them, and he's going to have to continue to just play his game and produce and look like he fits in on that top line.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to a numbers game too. I think there is a spot for a rookie to make this forward group. And when I mean I think there's room for them to make a spot, I mean literally a one. They have 12 established NHL forwards. As it's constructed now, it looks like it's more likely than not the Red Wings are going to carry 8 defensemen. Could change, you never know. But as it sits, it looks likely, which means at 13th forward, one spot up for grabs. You know, coming into camp, you would have bet Danielson, maybe MBN, Lombardi are the odds-on favorites. But in an organization of accountability and reward, if Finnie has the best camp and the best preseason, there's no reason it shouldn't be him. Will it be him? Again, to keep up this much of a run hot in the situation he's in, it's unlikely. But the fact that we're sitting here even having the conversation is a testament to what he's been doing.
We have to add Lombardi's name in there as well.
Yes, absolutely. And
Carter Mazur, we haven't talked about at all yet.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic, too, where the Red Wings are almost the inverse of every other organization in the NHL, where right now you can probably write that second line in pen.
Mm-hmm.
You can probably write that third line in pen. Maybe even then the fourth line, if you're thinking, because for that fourth line now you've got Soderblom, Berggren, Van Riemsdyk, and Comfer fighting for the... But that first line left wing's wide open. Could be one of the fourth line guys that goes up.
Could be Kopp from the third line.
Yeah.
Even.
The fact that McLellan's already running that line makes me believe he probably doesn't want to.
The Rasmussen, Kopp, Appleton line.
Yeah, and you understand the theory with that line, and if they can do it and do it well, there's no reason to break them up. So it's either one of those 4 other veteran guys on the fourth line right now, or a Finnie, a Danielson, a Lombardi, which for the higher skill guys isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, because whoever they're putting with those guys, they're going to have to produce. You can't put a Luke Glendening there anymore and hope it works. You can't put a Rasmussen there. It's got to be someone who can at least keep up with Larkin and Raymond. And obviously Finnie did an acceptable job of that yesterday. But it's such a fascinating dynamic, because I could see Van Riemsdyk there. Soderblom didn't look out of place there. Obviously, none of these guys are going to be to the level of Larkin and Raymond, but the Red Wings don't have anybody that they can put there that is to that level. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see who ends up there on opening night. Not that they'll stay there all year.
Yeah.
But just because they could go a half dozen ways with this right now.
Yeah, think about when Soderblom made the team surprise at a camp when he first did it. He made it, and then, he didn't stick. And think about last year with Kasper. He didn't make the opening night roster, but then he came up, 9 or so games later, and then the story writes itself after that. We all know how that one went. So, what happens on opening night isn't necessarily, it's almost guaranteed to not be the be-all, end-all, but there is a statement or a story there in terms of who can crack the roster that way. And that, I think, the rotating first line left wing, like you said, Brad, it's going to be a rotation. And we talked about it in the offseason. It's going to be, it's almost like riding the hot hand in net. Like, you see who's working there until they don't. And it's not an indictment on those guys. It's just finding the right mix without breaking up, that perfect second line, and without breaking up, hopefully, that perfect third pair matchup kind of checking line kind of thing. So that's what you have to look forward to, whether that's, Emmitt Finnie, which is the long shot, or Soderblom to start out, or Berggren, or JVR, who he was attending to family matters, I believe it was. So he had an excused absence, but we'll see how things start out. But the interesting thing is going to be what happens in the long run. We mentioned the other young players like we talked about Emmitt Finnie now, Nate Danielson, Carter Bear, Amadeus Lombardi, who was probably with Soderblom. I think you mentioned Evan, one of the two more impressive players yesterday. MBN, how did those players kind of shake out so far in your mind?
A lot of them were riding the brake.
Yeah. That's who McLellan was talking about.
Yeah, it's not that they were bad. It's that they weren't noticeable outside of Lombardi. Obviously, he had a very, very strong game, but everything's a different situation. Danielson's always kind of been that guy just because that's his game. MBN, you were hoping to notice a little more in terms of physicality or in terms of producing some offense. Carter Bear, I'll give the pass. This is the first competitive hockey he's played since his Achilles injury.
Yeah, rusty.
So no matter where he was playing, he was going to look a little off until he starts to feel fully comfortable again. But yeah, I think the only real standouts were, like Evan said, we've talked about Finnie already, and Lombardi. The big thing, when you get up to this level of hockey versus junior versus the HL is pace. And those were the only two guys that ever felt, out of the rookies, that ever felt like they were pushing the pace. Everybody else, I don't know how to describe it. This is just kind of how I imagine it in my mind and phrase it in my mind. Some guys look like they were trying to keep up. Some guys look like they were pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
Lombardi and Finnie look like they were pushing it. The other guys look like they were trying to keep up.
I think that's also an important reason for doing what McLellan did with Finnie as well. Like, you use him as an example early in this process for the rest of the rookies, because it's just the red and white game. Like, at the end of the day, we're talking about an intra-squad scrimmage. This should be gone from everyone's memories in 2 weeks. Like, it's not important.
Oh, don't worry, it will be.
In the grand scheme of things, but it is important right now. And so they have preseason games. They have exhibition games against NHL players somewhat over the next little while here. And that's when you really can make an impact and make your statement. If you're excellent in your team's training camp and intra-squad game, but then you falter during preseason, you're not going to make the team. If you have questions around you during training camp in the red and white game, but then you go out and have a stellar preseason, like let's say Kasper did last year, or Danielson did the year before, that's what people are going to remember, and then they're going to be calling for you to make the team. So it's a really good opportunity for those guys to look at the examples of Finnie and Soderblom and Lombardi and how McLellan uses them as a template for how he wants you to play. He's not saying play mistake-free hockey. He says if you're playing mistake-free hockey, you're doing something wrong because there aren't any perfect players on this team. And I don't want you going out there and play reserve. It's the same thing he said when he first got to Detroit. Just play effing hockey. So the Danielsons, the MBNs, all of these guys have an opportunity here. It's not like anything is taken away from them, but they now know what they have to do based on how the red and white game and training camp has gone. And Danny, you guys talked about it in the episode I wasn't here, but the prospect little mini tournament in Fresco, like Danielson was great there against much weaker competition, but still. So it's not like it's a foreign concept to these guys. It's just one little stretch of a weekend here.
And Danielson was good in the AHL last year, playing an elevated role beyond what they expected of him, right? It's not like he's faltering as a prospect or he's like not playing well.
No,
it's just they want to see him like, hey, Emmitt Finnie, Amadeus Lombardi, they're getting rewarded for their strong camp so far. You can do the same thing. So it'll be interesting once we roll around into the preseason games where some of these guys fit. Is Emmitt Finnie going to be on that first line again in a preseason game? Because that starts to send a lot of messages. What's Nate Danielson going to bring? What's Carter Mazur going to bring? Like, there's so many questions still, but it's been interesting so far how the camp and the inter-squad game's been playing out.
Yeah, and it's an important point to make. It's not like these guys have been bad. It's just through one weekend of training camp, it's more who had the opportunity in very limited minutes to stand out. Like, people are going to be saying, why don't you talk more about Carter Bear or Axel Sandin-Pellikka, who we haven't even mentioned to this point. It's just that there aren't a lot of opportunities to stand out with this, and that's what the preseason games are for.
There's something that I always hear a lot when I'm listening to anything football talk in preseason leading up to the season, and when you're trying to draw conclusions, and it's not the how, it's the where. Because that's going to give you the best indication to where a coach's mindset is at of the player. because in football, you have your first team, you have your second team, you have your third team. If there's a rookie playing up with the ones, whether or not you think he's playing good, the coach thinks he's playing good because he's playing with the ones, and then this guy's playing with the twos, that guy's playing with the threes. And it's a pretty good indication of where the coaching mindset's at. Preseason, we know the B squad goes on the road games, the A squad plays the home games. Now, there's veteran minimums, so they'll probably send like a Kopp and a Rasmussen and a Comfer to go play the road games because they have to meet veteran minimums. But if Finnie's still, or MBN or Danielson's up in the top 6 in the home game, that's kind of going to start giving you a pretty good indication of, were they just rewarding a guy for a really good training camp in the red and white game and they want to recognize it, or is this something they are genuinely considering?
It'll be interesting to see if they bolt a guy on there, right? Like, does Emmitt Finnie, for example, keep playing on the first line with Larkin and Raymond? Or do they, okay, that was Emmitt's attempt on that first line. Danielson, you're up next. Can you be better than him? Okay, next. Amadeus Lombardi, you're playing on that top line. Prove to us that you're better than those two guys and that you want to make this team. It'll be very interesting how this plays out.
But even in that, if that's what happens, that's a pretty good indication of who's in the mix, right?
Yeah.
If we see those three guys, but we never see a MBN or a Mazur up in those roles, probably not a great sign for them making the opening night roster. Now, again, you all of a sudden play on the third line for the last 2 games and you unreal. Okay, well, maybe that changes things, but for the most part, you can at least place the odds on how they're being deployed.
And news moves fast at this point of the year. Like, by the time the episode drops, like on any given episode, this one, next one, the training camp and the preseason rosters get cut repeatedly as they scale back and send players back to either they assign them to the AHL or send them back to their CHL teams or whatever it might be. So that's going to happen periodically here as things dwindle down. We're going to have more, especially on the defensive side of the ice with the defense and the goalies. But first, a quick break here to hear from the sponsors of the Winged Wheel podcast. Back after this. ExpressVPN is like tinted windows for your internet connection. You can see out, but they can't see in. That's how I want my browsing to feel when I'm at home, on hotel Wi-Fi, or bouncing between rinks and airports. A VPN matters because your connection isn't as private as you'd hope. ExpressVPN routes 100% of your traffic through secure, encrypted servers, so what you do online stays your business. It's also built to be used in real life. Open the app and hit one button, and you're protected. It works across all your devices, phone, laptop, tablet, whatever. So you're covered wherever you go, and it's rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge, so you know it's legit. Our use case? Hockey, of course. When a game isn't available in our region, which is something we can all relate to, we simply use ExpressVPN to connect securely and watch. It allows us to access feeds from all over the world, and it protects us from those sketchy streaming sites that love to serve malware with their free feeds. When it comes to which VPN is the best to use, we cannot recommend ExpressVPN enough. We've had a phenomenal experience with them. Protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/wingedwheel. That's expressvpn.com/wingedwheel to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months free. expressvpn.com/wingedwheel. New team merch is cool, but you should get it because you like it, not because you're trying to cover up thinning hair. What you actually need is a plan to deal with hair loss directly. That's where Hims comes in. They provide access to personalized treatments that use proven ingredients designed to slow down hair loss and promote regrowth in as little as 3 to 6 months. Whether that's chewables, oral meds, sprays, or serums. You fill out an online intake form, a licensed medical provider reviews your information, and if you're prescribed, your treatment ships right to your door. No waiting rooms, no hoops, just straightforward care. The whole thing is 100% online, so it fits whatever your schedule may be. If you're Brad and it's insane, it still works. With no hidden fees, you know exactly what you're getting. Hims has already helped hundreds of thousands of guys take action on hair loss and get some confidence back. Think of it like finally getting a solid top line instead of just patching holes from your depth. For simple online access to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/wingedwheel. That's hims.com/wingedwheel for your free online visit. hims.com/wingedwheel. Individual results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. All right, the goalies. Let's start there. I mean, the training camp is funny. The intra-squad game is funny because every time it's like, oh, Emmitt Finnie scores, and you're like, sweet. And it's like against Cam Talbot or John Gibson, and it's always the Red Wings did great, but they also are the guys who did great against the Red Wings. So it's too early to tell too much about the defense and the goalies, and so don't extrapolate too much, especially in those areas. You kind of know what to expect, though, especially with some of them. But John Gibson so far, I think, is a notable one where you've seen some flashes of some really, I think, high-end talent. It remains to be seen what comes out in game. We all know the goalies are voodoo line and, health and how much he wants to shoulder or can shoulder in terms of a workload. But I like what I've seen so far from John Gibson, at least in moments here.
Well, of course he looked good. He got to play the Red Wings.
The Red Wings offense, though, man.
No, I don't take a lot of conclusions from preseason goalies, especially like you already mentioned. There was really only one goal that was scored in the game or the shootout that I didn't like, and that was the one Soderblom put 5-hole on Talbot. Because from that spot where that went, that one's got to be stopped. But again, even that, it's like,
It's practice.
yeah, it's warm up. It's like, it's going to happen. Gibson really did flash at moments, but he's John Gibson. Nobody's surprised by that. Oh yeah, John Gibson was great. Cool. He's been great most of his career. Is he still playing in January? That's all I care about with John Gibson at this point. We know when he's healthy, he's good. I have no conclusions to draw about John Gibson until New Year's. Just because is he still playing by then and he's played his, 50, 60% of games? I'm thrilled. Talbot is Talbot. I liked what I saw from Cossa for the most part. Didn't feel like he was swimming too much, which is always his issue.
Yeah.
So stop Patrick Kane in a shootout.
Yeah.
That feels like a...
But then Andrew Kopp cosplayed as Patrick Kane with that shootout.
I know. Hey,
that was sweet.
If someone else, Patrick Kane's a Patrick Kane, and you get beat by the Patrick Kane, it's like you got beat by Patrick Kane, so it's fine.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. No, it was... Yeah, I for the best conclusion I will take away from watching the goalies over the last week, I didn't see any reasons for concern. Mm-hmm. And that's as far of a statement as I'm willing to make at this point.
And that's, that's as far of a statement as you can reasonably make, barring something extraordinary happening in either direction.
Yeah, it's like the All-Star game. It's like, the best goalies in the world are going to get lit up at some point, and who cares? Like, it's incredibly difficult to evaluate goalies. Once we get into preseason, that's when I'll start to draw some more definitive conclusions on where the goaltending's at.
I'm not going to lead into the defense by saying this is the truly important thing that we're going to analyze, in preseason, and that it's way more important than the top line left wing or anything else, because again, those are important things, which rookie forward will make it kind of thing. But in terms of what may sneaky be the biggest deciding factor in just how many points the Red Wings put on the board this year, even with like an increased team intensity and a better kind of ethos of how they play in the McLellan systems, is how their defense can perform with the players they have now, because we can't mince words. It is still not a good defensive roster. They still didn't fix their holes definitively unless they can come out and really reshape the way they play. It's important to note Simon Edvinsson's injury has him out until likely just around puck drop on the regular season. You hope he's ready in time for opening night, if not soon after. You hope he's not too rusty after that, although he has already proven that the rust thing coming into a new season isn't something to be worried about with him once in the past. So ideally he can repeat that. And then you have questions of which of those many players down the depth of the Red Wings defensive core can stick and actually be functional, right? Like, it's hard with Edvinsson out because you want to kind of solidify your top four and get them going, and then figure out which of Bernard Docker or Hamonic or whoever in Gustafsson's playing on which side on which pair. And that's what the preseason's really, it's not the dessert of the meal. It's kind of the vegetables but you have to finish them to know what you got.
They are vegetables, that's for sure. Some of the decision making makes me wonder if there's brain activity. That's for sure.
And that's coming from massive purveyor of vegetative brain activity.
Yes, especially at this time of the day.
I'm low-key thinking that this is the most boring things ever going to be spoken on a hockey podcast. But that bottom pair right defense spot might be the most interesting battle in camp outside of first line forward, because there's 3 guys that could be slotted in there, because you got, again, Chiarot, Seider.
You guys ever seen Shutter Island?
Yes.
Every time we're out of the rebuild, all of a sudden we're saying things like that third pair right D spot is the most important.
And boy, wait till you hear the names battling for it.
Hey, Justin Hall scored yesterday.
And they didn't give him credit for it.
They didn't give him credit. He thought it was in. Max thought it was in. I thought it was in. Now, watch out PP2.
Noted sniper Justin Hall. But again, you can write in pen Chiarot, Seider. Edvinsson and Johansson, again, you can write them in pen. I'm not saying on the pair they might put Johansson to anchor the bottom pair, but either way, those are your 4. There's no debate about what's happening with them. After those 4, the only lefty is Gustafsson. So that gives him an advantage, because if they do want to keep Edvinsson and Johansson together, they're probably not putting... I was going to say 2 righties together on the bottom pair. I'm just going to say any of these 3 together, because... oof. So if that's Gustafsson's spot to lose on the left side, you've got Bernard Docker, Hall, and Hamonic all competing for 1 spot. And we know what Hamonic and Hall can and cannot do, but they are very similar players. They fill that style, which theoretically is the type of defenseman you would want to have opposite Gustafsson, because he's the more offensively inclined guy. But Bernard Docker's the best player of the 3. Because the other...
Can you say that definitively?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's not a compliment to Bernard Docker. Let me just...
Yeah, all right.
We understand the Hall and Hamonic limitations. We understand their strengths, and they're not devoid of usefulness.
At a bare minimum, he has more potential.
That's as far as I'll go, because the other 2 have stuck on a roster.
I can't wait.
This is not the debate to be happening today.
I can't wait for the day we play players that might be bad versus players who are bad, but I digress.
This is a July 28th conversation. I'm sorry.
Realistically, like we talk about with everything else, it's probably going to end up being a rotation. Whoever's there on opening night, I'm not even convinced will be there game 2. You know what I mean? Because
I was going to say second period, but you go on.
We've seen it before.
I'm good.
This is truly the darkest spot on the roster. But philosophically, this is kind of where I actually don't know what McLellan's going to do here.
It's going to be dictated by them.
Do you
There's
think,
not a secret
you think
plan,
he puts
right?
that much thought into this?
But that's the thing.
Because he's like, I'm riding my dogs on the first and second pair, and then this bottom pair just needs to not be a bunch of, I guess, vegetables. I was going to say glue eaters, but we'll go with vegetables today.
I don't know. More or less. Anyways, I don't think, like, I know what you're both getting at. It's, you can't divine this in advance. You just have to see how they go out there and play and mesh and how they can perform on the ice. And that's how it is on the depth of a lot of rosters in the NHL. It's not like this is a unique 1 of 32 issue in Detroit.
The Stanley Cup finalists worry about this same issue.
Yes. I mean, look at where Jeff Petrie went. It's to the Florida Panthers. Although Jeff Petrie wouldn't be in the mix of these players, and you can say that quite confidently. And again, another low bar to clear. It's another low bar to clear. But it's all based on how these players acquit themselves over the preseason games. Because like you've both said, there's no obvious solution here. So it just depends on who has the chemistry, who has the preparation, who has the modifications or changes to their game. Maybe Gustafsson going back to the left side really helps him shake out of the funk that he was in last year. Maybe Travis Hamonic on a new team sticks a little bit better than he did in the past. You know, maybe the motivation of like, yeah, my job might actually be gone here pushes Justin Hall. Much like first line left wing, though, I think Brad is exactly right. The solution isn't going to be permanent here. The only one that I could say has a reasonable chance right now of like greater than single digit percentage points, if you had to handicap it, would be Bernard Docker, you know, realizes a bit more of his potential and then he sticks there on the right side of the third pair. But even that, you can't call it likely yet because he hasn't done it across 2 teams so far. He's shown flashes and he's shown enough promise where we were excited by the depth signing. But it all depends on how these next, couple weeks go.
There's no reason to be happy about Edvinsson being out for training camp and preseason. But the silver lining is that this is going to really let McLellan tinker.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can throw a Johansson and a Bernard Docker together. You can throw a Gustafsson and a Hall together. And then you can just every game, every period if you want, mix and match, throw some shit against the wall and see what sticks. And if all of a sudden they're watching, they're going, wow, Johansson and Bernard Docker just had like a dominant half a game of hockey. Okay,
yeah.
Well, is that the bottom pair? And now are we trying to figure out who to put with Edvinsson? Like, you experiment and then some things work, some things don't. And again, all with the asterisks of those two could look great in preseason and then go and get shelled first regular season game and you're back to the drawing board. But it will give him options and it will give him looks.
I mean, at the end of the day, the solution is not going to be a great one. Like, you're not going to make a league best third pair no matter what. Much like the goaltending, you just kind of have to get to league average ideally.
That's not possible.
No, but close to it, right? Like as close to it as you possibly can for a third pair.
McLellan's not an idiot. Like, he knows he's going to still have to rely and lean heavily on Moritz Seider. He's going to have to rely more on Simon Edvinsson. Those 2 top pairings are going to play the majority of the season. And the bottom pair just has to be able to just not light the team on fire.
In the important and critical games, there is a reality here where Edvinsson and Seider's pair are both playing 22 to 25 minutes a night.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then that bottom pair is playing 11 to 12 minutes. Not every game, because, again, you can't burn out Seider and Edvinsson like that. But, you can strategically deploy that. The Ottawa and Montreal games are going to be critical. Maybe those are the nights you lean on those guys a little more.
It's not a new issue. Oh, a team has 1 or 2 guys that are the best and the rest are kind of, just not even in the same tier. Yeah, you're going to have guys who play 25, 27, 29 minutes a night. That's old school NHL. Like, the league has gotten away from that because as the season gets longer and, health and fitness takes more of a center stage and you realize that you can't burn your guys in game 55 because you need them in, game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals, you try to reduce those minutes and load manage a little bit. But sometimes you don't have that luxury. And that's not a good problem that you have. So you play Seider 29 minutes and you let him take a practice off the next day kind of thing.
If the Red Wings hypothetically came to a game 82, tied for the last spot and like a win and they get in their playoffs, I'm not convinced the third pair touches the ice that game.
Yes, Seider might play.
Seider plays 31 minutes. Edvinsson plays 29.
Oh, I was going to say 40, like just something stupid like that. The fun stuff's set forward for the preseason. Like, oh yeah, who's going to come in and is Elmer Soderblom going to be the guy on the first line to start the season wearing the Centennial Jersey? How sweet would that be? Is Danielson going to make it? Is Emmitt Finnie going to shock it on defense? Is just like SpongeBob side quest meme?
Are they gonna
dungeon?
Are they just coloring in the lines?
It's crazy how inversely proportional they are to one another. It's like,
yeah,
just can you chew and breathe at the same time?
Wow, we really are defensemen.
Yes.
Was it you and Max or what, big Monet guys, or who was the painter?
Yeah,
they're trying to paint a Monet in the Red Wings forward top 6
maybe
in the
a bit
preseason.
Generous, yeah.
Hey, based on what we've seen.
Yeah.
And then, the bottom pair on D is just opening up their coloring book. And
it's a macaroni picture.
Yeah.
That's still in a book, so every time you close it, it crunches. One last little moment of off-season content for you guys there. All right. The preseason starts on Tuesday against Chicago, and there's a slew of preseason games. For those who don't know how it's going to work, it's going to be like, A team, B team, especially as the preseason roster is still big, and then cuts will reduce it. But you're not going to see the same guys every night. You're going to see, the away games are going to be a little bit less of the...
Very Griffins-y.
Yeah. But it'll winnow itself down and you'll see. So that is going to stretch all the way to the home opener on October 9th against Montreal. So good amount of preseason games going all the way through October 4th there. Yzerman spoke briefly before training camp kicked off. There wasn't a lot in there, I don't think, in terms of anything new. He got asked a lot of the same questions about, the rebuild and the timelines for everything. And he just kind of reiterated about his philosophies on previous deadlines and free agency. I don't think it's worth taking too much away from it. I think obviously it's good anytime Yzerman does media. Sometimes you don't get too much from him for long stretches of time. But to me, there wasn't anything like that was a massive departure in what he said. I don't know what you guys thought of it.
I can't remember who asked the question, but he basically dwindled it down to, are you worried about your job? It takes a lot of balls to go to a media conference and ask someone if they're worried about their job. So I certainly appreciate that. I didn't really take anything away from it. And the only thing that, I'm working away, listening to this in the background. The only thing that made me stop what I was doing was the commentary around Travis Hamonic and the reasoning for bringing him in.
It was Justin Hall 2.0.
What are you going to say?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be like, yeah, this guy's shit, but I just needed to bring in some depth. There was saying that he liked what he saw in Ottawa, gave me some questions.
Yeah.
Am I going to lose sleep over the 10th defenseman on this team? Absolutely not. I refuse to. But that was one moment where I was like,
Well, you hit the nail on the head, right? Like, they signed Hamonic late in the game. It's like, and it was just like, yeah, you had to, all other options were exhausted, so you had to bring in a body. It was cheap, it's variable, and he's not going to sit there and bury the guy in the press conference, so it kind of is.
But don't try and tell me that you liked what he saw in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Ottawa fans almost had a parade in front of Parliament Hill because they got rid of him.
Oh, again, it's Hall 2.0.
Again, actions speak louder than words. And even though Yzerman signed him, he signed him in August. If he really was like all in on we need Travis Hamonic, he probably gets signed first week of July.
Yeah.
Not in August. This was not plan A, B, C, or D for Yzerman. This was, well, what's left? And at the time, it was him and Grizzly. That was it. It was Slim Pickens.
Like I said, I don't think there's anything new really in that presser. What is new is Detroit's Centennial Jersey, which, man, that
I'm not a Jersey guy. I'm clapping.
that is you got a clap out of Evan Lobsinger, who does not care about jersey designs at all.
I don't wear jerseys to games. I'm not a jersey guy. I do not care. When people ask me what my favorite jersey is, I don't know. Wrong. It's my Steve Ott jersey. I do not care.
Unsigned, mind you.
Unsigned. Yes. But I do have a picture with them, so we'll
There's
call
that.
it even. But when the Red Wings released this, I was like, maybe I am a jersey guy.
You're a changed
Anybody can change.
man. Fatherhood's changed you.
It has.
And then you got me on the opposite, the ultimate jersey snob,
Yes.
where I will nitpick every tiny minutia of a jersey to rip it apart. This thing is damn near perfection. Like, when we were all imagining this in our head, we said it's going to be a red base. We knew it was going to be a cream accent, vintage feel. How are they all going to slap it together? Damn near perfect.
The internet is the worst place on the planet and
Yes.
probably the worst invention in humankind history.
That's right.
But when you go into the comments of the jersey reveal and everyone can agree on it, that it's unreal, then you've done something special.
And I seen a million posts going around of all the aggregators, just because there was a lot of teams that released jerseys, Rangers, Blues, Capitals, etc. And so they put up the graphic. Oh, who has the best new jersey? And then I go into the comments, overwhelmingly the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Overwhelming. Again, like Evan said, maybe the only corner of the internet where there's truly unity.
I actually think that might be the only one right now on the entire internet is the Red Wings Centennial jersey. I do think if the Bruins had made the logo on their new jerseys like even 10% bigger, I think it's right now only the size of Brad's head. If they had made it Brad and my heads put together, then it might have been perfect. But
to be fair, that Boston one of all the new ones is probably my second favorite.
it's just the Stadium Series size logo.
Yeah, it's still a good jersey though.
It is. You're never going to go wrong. I also like the Rangers one took some heat. I think the
collar
frock neck
ruins
is a
it
bit
for
weird.
me. I get what they were going for, and I like the jersey, but the collar's tough, and it's hard to not notice it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blues had a good jersey. Capitals was okay,
but yeah, the
Red Wings clears them all.
So going through some of the elements, they had tributes to various parts of the organization's history. So the Cougars, the Cougar D logo had been redrawn and reintroduced as a secondary mark for the jersey. And it's on the front leg of the red pants as part of the whole uniform and the jock tag at the bottom front of the jersey. And the number font is inspired by the Cougars' barber pole uniforms worn in 27-28. There's a Falcons tribute, which is the striping along the hem, the sleeves, and the socks, which draws from when it was the Detroit Falcons. I love the leather features. So on the captains and assistant letters, and then on the patch on the front that's such a cool touch.
I love it. The
stitching, the chain stitch wing wheel, which was introduced in 1932, according to the Red Wings site here. The lace-up collar, obviously, that you love. You love that they included the Centennial logo on the shoulder. You love that if you have to have a jersey ad, and all of them are bad, but if you have to have one, you move it to the shoulder, which I'm a big fan of. The retro helmet with the old school CCM, the old school Meyer logo.
It looked like they were matte paint too.
Yeah.
Like it was matte red.
Yeah.
Let me be clear about this. All uniform ads bother me, but when the ads match the theme of the uniform, like the Meyer logo, pretend it doesn't say Meyer. Just the font of it looks incredible. Like little details like that really do matter on
it
something
shows
like this.
that there was attention to detail in this.
I
just
love
a
it.
money grab.
The old school everything, like I love it.
Yeah. And as usual, the announcement from the Red Wings media team was just absolutely stellar. You love to see Kane with Mickey and Vladdy in the announcement video. For those of you who don't know, and if you're watching on YouTube, the jersey sitting between Brad and I here, the red and cream Winter Classic jersey, the Big House one against Toronto, that's my favorite jersey of all time. And nothing has challenged that since. This one comes close. I have to think about it. Like, they just knocked this out of the park. I can't wait to get ours, and we're going to put it up in the studio as well.
I also like when they do the announcement videos and you can actually see what the jersey looks like.
Yes.
When they do the videos and it's like a little square of the jersey, you're like, I think I like that. Or like it flashes by for half a second. You're like,
that was a shot.
What am I watching?
Yeah, that was a shot directly at the New York Rangers, by the way.
They're playing Darude's Sandstorm, and on every interval of a 16th beat, you get 1/8 of the jersey flash. But if you have epilepsy, God help you, you're never seeing these.
If you don't have a 240 hertz monitor, you have no chance of stopping the video in time.
NVIDIA stocks spike every time a New Jersey release video goes out.
It just drives me nuts. But yeah, the Red Wings, the videos and everything they've done so far this year has just been hitting it out of the park.
From the graphic design to the actual videos, the media announcements, the design of the jersey, the Centennial logo. I have to say, we're always honored, and we are very we can't believe we're here when our merch is co-branded with the Red Wings merch and it's officially licensed for the Windy Wheel Podcast Nights event in partnership with the team. And to do the Centennial logo with our 10th anniversary logo this time was something really special for us. So we're really, really thrilled about that. It is an honor, and especially considering it's alongside, I think, what is the best work in the league in this space from the Red Wings organization. Yeah, they nailed this on every front.
Between the center ice logo, the Fedorov stuff, now the Centennial jersey, everything this part of the organization could do to make this season really feel special, they have nailed so far. So my message to the players, don't you dare.
Is it a good or a bad sign that it started thundering outside when we started saying this?
Probably not great. That's the gods talking to the players, also saying,
Don't mess this up. And on that note, let's take another quick break here. When we're back to final segment on this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Back after this.
We're going to overtime.
Overtime is brought to you by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast. If you want to support the show, you get access to benefits like our bonus overtime episodes, which record right after these main ones. You also get access to all of our bonus content that we posted all throughout the offseason, and there's more actually coming as well as we get through our backlog now that Evan's back from the little delay he had from...
Very little delay.
Very small delay. He's up to 6 pounds. How many ounces?
5.
Good man. Sullivan's doing well.
Absolute unit.
Yeah. He's challenging you.
Yes.
But we're very happy he's doing well. But yeah, now that we're catching up on that, you also get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord and all of our giveaways. In season, we give away 2 tickets to every Detroit Red Wings home game going directly to our Patreon supporters. So again, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast. Let's take some questions from our patrons. Jason Thompson says, I'm starting to think that the rapid increase in the cap and the new CBA rules will have the unintended consequences of making free agency far less consequential, and as a result of that, parity will be harder to achieve. Fine if you're the Panthers, Stars, or Avs, but if you're a bubble team, it could be a serious problem. I mean, we saw the effects this year. Like a big jump in the cap made it so that there was no trades or anyone squeezed to make a move or let anyone go or anything like that. So unintended maybe, but also obvious, I think.
Yeah, because it's the catch-22 of it all. The weaker teams, in theory, now will have more cap space, which means, again, to use this past offseason as an example, is there any reason the Red Wings couldn't have thrown $11 million at Nikolai Ehlers? They could have, and that might have been enough to entice him away from a good team. But is that wise cap spending? And then all of a sudden you have all this money poorly allocated. You're right back where you were. I'm almost more curious to see what this is going to do with the RFA market. And obviously we have 2 shining examples coming up in Detroit is, the thought of Simon Edvinsson with where he'll be at in his career after this year being a $9.5 million player 3 years ago would have been insanity. Well, might be. Kasper,
Not out of the realm of possibility.
If Kasper scores 50 points this year, is he a $9 million center? Probably not, but maybe. That's probably going to be the agent's ask. So,
and it's less about even the AAV now. It's more agents saying, okay, if they're not going to give you that number because they have team control, sure, but then you're not taking the 8-year deal.
Exactly.
And that's what you're seeing with like the McTavishes, those kind of players.
And where the salary cap matters in that is the agent's going to look at it and go, you have the space.
Yeah.
You cannot give me the argument, oh, we would love to, but we can't fit it. You absolutely can do it. So it's a whole new world. And again, I still don't think everybody, myself included, has fully grasped just how dramatic this increase is. You give Simon Edvinsson and Moarco Kasper $16 million combined. That's absorbed just in the cap increases over the next couple of years. You don't have to shed anywhere to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the nutso part of this all to me.
We haven't been, I think it legitimately is unprecedented. Never mind that the cap was flat. Like you just don't see spikes like this. And you're right, Brad. Like that is codified in the CBA. We know what the next amount of jumps are. And there's already talks of numbers that you would laugh at if you heard for the next 10 years after that. It's still too early. And I mean, the world can change as we've seen in a lot of ways. It's going to affect the kind of market forces that might move these things. But yeah, the league does have to try to walk the line here. The league has to maybe ride the brakes a little bit on this one.
And sorry to get back to the point of the question with the point I should have made quicker. The teams like the Detroit, this is where they have to get their wins. Because the Floridas and the Dallases and the Vegas are going to be able to retain all their guys just because of the cap increases. We just saw it. Any other year in the history of the salary cap, Florida's not retaining all 3 of those players. Not possible. But this was the circumstance that allowed it to happen. So when you get an Edvinsson and you get a Kasper, 8 years is a must. Overpay him by $2 million a year, because realistically, with how much the cap is increasing, that extra $2 million a year is almost nothing compared to the 8 years of control you get on this player. And let's, again, On the extreme end, you pay Simon Edvinsson $11 million next summer, a year. Objectively, historically, you're not paying a guy in his situation $11 million, even if he has a phenomenal year. Is he worth that in 6 years? Is that going to be a bargain in 6 years? Probably. Like, you have to take those gambles because playing it safe is not going to get you out of the basement. You have to win on a lot of those early, out of ELC 8-year contracts because we've seen contending teams do it time and time again.
I'm going to run some preemptive defense for you here. Brad is using the extreme examples of the numbers, not advocating to pay Edvinsson $11 million a year right now. Casper, the friendly post, says points can accumulate for whoever sits on the first line with Larkin and Razor. If you had to choose a prospect based on their defense alone, who would you pick?
Based on their defense?
Yeah, like to play defense on the first line or to be a responsible player. I mean,
Nate Danielson.
Yeah,
maybe.
Danielson would be the fit there. It's funny, we didn't even talk a lot about Larkin and Raymond because they were just so... It's kind of like Kane, DeBrincat, Casper. Like
water is wet, more at 6. Like,
yeah. Nate Danielson's a fit there. Yeah, absolutely. More time, and not that like Emmitt Finnie couldn't be or anything like that. It's just that Nate Danielson has spent more time and knows a little bit more about what it's like to play two-way pro hockey at this
MBN
level.
Maybe as well.
Only downside with MBN and Danielson is they're playing their off wing.
Yeah.
Which Danielson's a natural center, so him switching to the wing's probably going to feel weird either way.
So when Larkin ultimately burns out after the Olympics, we can just put Danielson at center to carry the load.
There you go. Problem solved. We're getting ahead of the game.
All right, next one here from Glenn Brabham says, with the likes of McTavish and Hughes still not signed, how concerned are you for when Edvinsson and Kasper are due for extensions? Do you think some kind of equilibrium around the league will have been reached by then that makes negotiations easier? Cheers, boys. Sorry you had to spend more time in Italy, Ryan. Tough gig. Yeah, I heard your prayers and it really helped me through that difficult time. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not worried yet. I'll be worried in September.
Yeah, I mean...
It's troublesome that Verbeek and Yzerman are cut from the same cloth, but it's definitely apples to oranges.
Yzerman got it done with Raymond, Seider, and Larkin. It came down to the wire, but he got it done with all of them. And I see Edvinsson and Kasper being, I don't know what the word is, less risky than those three.
Everyone's kind of romantic about their own team and prospects, but especially with like Kasper, for example, so much of that is identity, and he fits into like the Red Wings, just the whole spirit of what they're trying to do. And I see them wanting to buy into that the same way Seider does and Raymond does. So yeah, the fact that Yzerman has done this, Brad's right. It inspires confidence. Jake Iatru says, who do you think gets the opening night spot with Larkin and Razor based on what we've seen so far?
I'm still going to put my money on Soderblom.
Yeah.
But I don't think I have a single player over 30% in my personal odds.
Ask that question again Wednesday, because the first preseason game's Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Ask that question again Wednesday. That could be,
and then again Friday and Sunday, and
could be wildly different by next Sunday.
Ask me after we've seen JVR for 2 games because of him not being present there. Like, ask me after we've seen him get a spot there. But I'd say, yeah, as of now, Soderblom probably has that 20% odds, which is the plurality of what's out there. Kyle Coupe says, with the somewhat recent talk about the Hall of Fame, how much you guys think a player's fame plays into account in their Hall bid? For example, Marc-Andre is a first ballot. Oh, man after my own heart, Kyle. Marc-Andre is a first ballot because almost every hockey fan knows of him. What are your thoughts?
I think that in theory has nothing to do with it, but the fact that someone canvasses for themselves, like, I don't know, if people like you, they're going to think more favorably of you. That's not a new thing.
It's not a uniquely hockey issue either, but it is absolutely a part of it.
And it's not necessarily with the fans where that matters. It's just the hockey world in general, because it's only a small amount of people that vote on it. Because again, realistically, you can make a case for Fleury to or to not be a Hall of Famer, but first ballot, no. But he's going to be because he's such a good dude and so well respected, and everybody likes him, and nobody has a bad thing to say about him. So he's going to get in. And also, he played in a bunch of teams that were very relevant for his whole career.
Yeah.
Based on people who are in the Hall already, there's no reason Henrik Zetterberg shouldn't be in the Hall. But towards the end of his career, the Red Wings were the most irrelevant team in the league for years. Zetterberg, despite how good he was playing, was on nobody's radar outside of Detroit. So not that he was forgotten, but he was largely forgotten. for those reasons. Because when was the last time the Red Wings were relevant at all? 2013?
2013 is the last
So,
year with them.
Yeah. By the time he retired, that was a distant memory. And then you go 3 years past that.
Yeah.
Like it's just the reality. You're not going to think about something that doesn't give you any reason to think about it. And we're talking about Zetterberg. There's probably a half dozen players around the league that I'm forgetting about because they were in the exact same boat. Hence why I forgot about them.
All right, we're going to wrap this episode up. We are going to be back with you midweek this week. Usually we do like a Sunday, Wednesday thing. This week might be Thursday as this one had to be delayed to Monday. Okay, no, Wednesday. We'll be figuring that out as we go. But then, yeah, back to our regular schedule. The offseason is officially over. Thank you to all of you for tuning into the Winged Wheel podcast. Thank you to our sponsors of the show, to all of our listeners. We can't say thank you enough. To our Patreon supporters, again, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast if you want to join the Dub Club and get access to all those benefits. And if you want to support us, but Patreon's not for you, that's totally okay. Wherever you're getting your podcasts, just subscribe to the show, whether it be Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, leave a thumbs up, the heart, a like, a review, tell a friend about the show. All of that really does help us out. And Winged Wheel Podcast Night at the LCA and the Grand Rapids Griffins, links in the description. To our name level supporters on Patreon, we cannot thank you enough. Arjun Shankar, Yves Bartels on behalf of the Sir Grand Foundation, Akefer, THL Champ, Samuel Soderholm, Icon, Glenn Brabham, Rain Dano, Below Average Ball Hockey Goalie, Sea Lion, Darb EQ, Matthew M. Rice, Bingo Bango, Hassam Al-Qassem, Asher Killian, Kaylin Wood, Alex Toger, That's What I Appreciate About You, Derek Enstam, Matt McKay, Jacob Turner, Andy Hardcore, Sam Bankson, Citizen High Five, R.A., Aaron Hudson, Admiral Matt S. of the Cheesebag Navy. Oh shit, where's Terry? Stephen Ortlieb, Jonathan Miller, Give Blood Fight Probert, DJ Denton, Carl, Britannia Nanowski, Jay Gollum, John Engels, CB55, Connor Scovey, Adam Zuiza, Adam Rose. Huh? What? Who? Steve R., Hockeytown Matt, Mr. Kuzi, Chaotic Monkey, Craig Kibble, Yzerman Stan, Clip Clop, Nene, Podgy713, Now I Have to Learn How to Click on a Macintosh, Griffin God Creatives, Marty, Jeff Pridemore, Eric Hill, Butts Carlton, Best James Bond, Beer League Legend, Roy Dunk, Alec, Mark Hernandez, Slim Smitty Cards, Grand Rapids Girly, Anna Sleeman, William, Kip Tira Jr., Chris Black, August, Brian Munn, General Andy Bohanna, the Cheesebag Army, Quaz, Lonnie Zone, Dylan Larkin, Trade Sacrifice, Antonio Gracias, Matt Keeler, Linda Hull, Dub Club, Hoodie Enjoyer, Connor Leighton, As Good As It Gets, Jeremiah Adobo, Josh Yelton, Brad Simmons, Darren Fick, Bex, The Hodag, first name Munchma, Commander Ben Barron, the Cheeseback Space Force, Griffey Boy, JM Rhapsody, your second favorite patron, Frank Stanley, Rosie Posey, Ophelia, That Other Guy, Angie, Carl Thames, The Hat 123, Stephen A. Ron, Corey Prida, All Motor No Hands, Gene Sullivan, Roy Mudbutt, Big Cheese, James Pridemore, Upernadian, Drop the Puck, Eric Nance, Ann Stanislavski, Jim, Bellingham Basketballs, Wings Fan of St. Louis Scott, Johnny Page, Lucas Raymond, Evans Brown, Pomeranian, Trent Thoreau, Grepsky, Evan Beckner, Return of Jambo, C.E. Hayes, Jacob Marsh, Mike Asher, Falkness, 91 in the Raptors, and I'm still stranded in Arkansas, Fight Night at the Joe, Aaron Shaw, Ian Grant, and your second favorite patron. Thank you all so very much. We'll see you later this week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to visit wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find ways to support the show, like Patreon, official podcast merchandise, and more. And don't forget to follow us on X at Winged Wheel Pod, at Ryan Hanna, WWP, at Brad Crisco, and at Hockeytown Evan, as well as Winged Wheel Podcast on Instagram.